Hello, in this lesson we are going to find the inverse of the function, and our job is to graph the function and its inverse. First of all, we have to find the inverse and review the concept of the inverse. So inverse function is a function that you inverse the domain and a range. Domain becomes range. You input a value, come out as output, and undo all this process, all the output comes down and change to input. So in this case, as we said, we are going to interchange domain and the range. So the function is f of x equal to x minus 5. The first step, I'm going to write little steps here. Step 1, we have to change f of x equals with y. That is only a process that makes it a little easier to solve the equation. So we have y equals to x minus 5. Now, step number 2, as we said, we have to interchange domain with a range. So y is the range, becomes the domain, and x is the domain, becomes the range. Now this equation turns to be solved for y, and when I solve for y, that's step number 3, we need to leave y alone. In order to leave y alone, I have to add 5 in both sides. In the negative 5, positive 5, they cancel each other. So I have x plus 5 equals 2y. The process continue. I have to divide by 2. And y equals x plus 5 over 2. We found y, but as we said, the inverse functions we write with some symbol, with a negative sign, negative 1, and that means that we are dealing with an inverse function. So the final answer is going to be f inverse of x, x plus 5 over 2. Now, graph the function in its inverse. You know how to graph functions using the slope-intercept form, and I'm just sketching here a graph. Here are the x's and here are the y's. Now, the first thing that we put is the y-intercept. The y-intercept in this case is negative 5, so I'm going to go negative 5 units here, negative 1, negative 2, negative 3, negative 4, and negative 5. Negative 5 is my first point, is y-intercept, and from here I'm going to start and put the slope. Slope is 2 over 1, 2 units up, 1 units run, and that's my first graph. So this graph is 2x minus 5. Now the question is, how can we graph the inverse graph? For the inverse graph, please, you have to separate that. As you have the common denominator, and the common denominator is 2, we can say x over 2 plus 5 over 2. And as we said, the first thing is we are going to put the y-intercept 5 over 2, or 2.5, which one is positive 2.5, you go up 2.5. And as you see, the slope in front of x is 1 over 2. Rise 1 and run 2. Rise 1, run 2 is approximately here. And let me grab the graph. So one more time, is here and here. I connect these 2 points, and that's my inverse graph, which one is x plus 5 over 2. As you can tell, these 2 graphs intersect with each other, so they have a point on the intersection here. And as we said during class time, these 2 graphs are reflection over a graph that is called y equal x, and all the inverse function are reflection over that graph. And the name of this graph is identity graph. We discussed about that during class time. The 2 sides of this equation are identical. Y is equal with x. That's why we call that identical graph. So remember, to graph an inverse function, we have to find the reflection of the graph over the line y equal x, which one is called the identity line. And one more time, the steps to solve and find the inverse of a function. First step is take the function, and since we're dealing here with x and y, we substitute f of x for y. Step number 2, we have to solve for y. Leave y alone, as we always do, and write this as a symbol to show that we are dealing with two inverse functions. So this was the lesson for today. Thank you.